Welcome back, fellow scrubs, and the microphone's not pointed in the right direction because it fell over. Or not fell over, but it's hanging and it rotated and did. Anyway, my name's MarcDWyz. This is the GameDevScrubs, I guess, online video programming, if you want to consider it that. And we're back with more Retro Mansion game. So we'll show that on the screen. Except it didn't work because my thing broke. Have a great day. Yes? Go ahead. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now my thingy should work. Right? So I can hit the button and it goes. Yeah, there we are. Holy crap. Today has been one heck of a day. So, welcome everybody. This is the Thursday stream. We're working on the Retro Mansion game. And this one is a completely original game. Platformer, NES-ish style graphics, although we're breaking some rules here and there. Like all good, inaccurate NES indie games. Oh jeez, alright, hold on, I need a sip of water here. So I wasn't sure what to do today, since we had quite an eventful day. And I didn't have time to prepare anything, so Tim's like, why don't you make some backgrounds? And I'm like, I'm terrible at backgrounds. And he's like, well, that's a reason you should practice it. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. So I'm going to stop avoiding doing backgrounds, and we're actually going to do some of that. But first, some feedback on the Coffin Walker that we had last time. So, because it is an NES game, and there's no anti-aliasing on pixel art and all that stuff, and we don't really have a lot of colors to work with, it was suggested to make this a bit more of a rigid shape. And if and I agree with this too. So if you're going to do a line, you want to do a line that's like this, or like this, or can I get a 3 here? A 3 step? Okay, you know what? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So you should do them sort of in equal steps here. And of course this is not. If it were, it would be down like this. So, oh, the cat. Yeah, how's Tango? Well, we kind of still don't know. So the cat did get another checkup today. It was supposed to be yesterday, but then things got snowy here. So I'm from New York. I don't care about driving in snow, but the people here get like freaked out about it. So typically that halts all travel, and because it was forecasted to be I think it was supposed to be like a foot, like 13 inches. I know in Europe, I'm not sure what that is. Let's see. How about we see, we'll go to Google. Let's see, 13 inches to centimeters. Assume that might be what you want. 33 centimeters, 33.02 centimeters of snow. That could be hazardous for travel, and because Kentucky's not equipped to handle snow, we decided that maybe it was a bad idea to drive 3 hours away from home to check that out. And so we called the vet and we're like, hey, we'll come out if there's absolutely no other option, but like, could we just do it tomorrow? And they're like, yeah, you can do it tomorrow. I'm like, okay, that's fine. It's not a big amount of time to wait. So we waited and we did it today. And so Tango's eyes are clearly the problem. Does not appear to be a neurological or other issue, I guess. Seems to be. So we're gonna try some medication and see if it clears up in a week, and if it doesn't, and who knows what the heck we're gonna do. It's become a very big issue of, yeah, this is highly irregular, and we don't really know exactly what's going on, is basically how the vets are treating it. So unfortunately, this could be one of our last chances to try to do something about it, and if that doesn't work, then we may not have any other alternative, and I really don't want to think about that outcome. So hopefully the medication will do its thing, and it'll become I guess the thought at this time is that it's some kind of autoimmune disease, if I understand correctly. So yeah, I don't know. It's a bit above my head. I'm not a doctor. Yeah, thanks, man. That means a lot. So yeah, that's what I've had to deal with today, and my brain is fried, and I just wanna go lay down. But I'm here anyway. Not that I don't enjoy working on this, but part of me was frazzled. I'm like, I don't know what to even do today. And we just got home a little while ago. Anyway, so Tim said, let's work on some backgrounds. And here we are. But yeah, I did want to address this first. So if we were to take this onto a more conventional angle, and this might work because it's an NES style kind of affair. So let's see, I guess it would be that, right? The coffin's got kind of a strange shape. I can see this working. It also, because the elements here along the box were never angled too, because we didn't have the resolution to properly handle that. So honestly, I don't think that looks bad. What do you think, Tim, since you're actually here? You think that looks all right? And we'll copy this to the other frame too, so that we can get a proper comparison here. So if we go to the second frame, obviously it's different. Oh right, because he's pushed up one. So here, it's passable. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, a lot of NES designs had this kind of quirk anyway. Not sure what you could really do with it. Yeah, that's the thing. That's not bad. It's not bad. I think one issue here is that this is using a two-step. When I say two-step, I mean that it's 1 2 1 2 1 2, while these are actually using a one-step. The handles I'm not so much worried about. I mean, you could do something like this and they kind of look like they're sort of in line. But the skull really kind of throws it off a little. I don't know, you kind of think about it and don't, because it's so far removed from the sides. I don't know. It's kind of strange, right? I think it looks okay. It's a little more boxy, but it's okay. I think because it gets rid of that, oh. I only did this extra pixel on those frames. Logically, it should be a flat surface, hence boxy. Yeah, that's true. I tried to give it a little more perspective because the idea that the coffin is typically shaped, in lore, it's shaped like this, right? And so I tried to get that perspective by taking this and angling it down a little bit, so this looked thinner than the top. That was the idea. Because I would imagine that, he's like this, and, his arms are here, and his legs down here. But it doesn't come out... Yeah, you see what I mean, right? But it doesn't come out too well in the pixel. I think if you had more colors to work with, like if it was a Super Nintendo sprite instead, I think that you should be able to get away with it in some capacity. But I think because it's an NES kind of affair, it's a little bit different. I don't know if that helps on the bottom. I don't think so. I think it should stay like that. So the other alternative, and I'll save this as, let's say it's Alt-1. Now, if I had more pixels to work with, or more colors to work with, what I might have done is kind of what I did here, like on the skull. If you could do like this, it might help ease the... We'll ignore the fact that the skull here is merging with it, but yeah, let's just make the skull completely black. You can sort of perhaps ease the transition here, and it won't look quite as bad, but again, then you have the problem of additional black here, I guess. I don't know. It would work better in a Super Nintendo kind of capacity. You could potentially do something like that. And that kind of anti-aliases it, but the fact that the rest of it's not anti-aliased, you know, kind of gives it a little bit of an issue here. You would then want to do something with like the arms and stuff like that. I don't know. What would you want to do here? It's maybe something like this. You know what I mean? Like, if you brought that element into it, I think it would be more acceptable, but I don't think that that's the way to go with Super Nintendo. But if you look at it, even from a distance here, like you kind of, let me put my spot on. You kind of like here, from a distance, it kind of blurs it. It doesn't look as crazy of a drop off as it used to. I think I need to choose a steeper angle. I guess, I don't know. I just based it off the original design here. You could maybe go for a 2-step or a 1-2-1-2. That would be a little harder to pull off, but it would certainly be doable. So if you did a 1-2-1-2-1-2, could maybe do that. I don't know. Something to think about. Yeah, you got to get a thin line, but it's got to be clean. I think that this is not a bad alternative, but it's possible that we could try something else. But then it would cause me to redraw the whole thing, so I don't want to focus on it too much now. But I did just want to try giving the 1-step angle a try, especially because this one was already a 1-step here. It just happened to be that this one wasn't. If I did, say, go from here, yeah, because a 1-2-1-2 would be kind of something like this. It's a little hard to get right here automatically with the line tool, but yeah, a 2-step would be like this, but that's like way too off. I don't know. Face would need to look slimmer than the top somehow. Yeah, that was the thought. I mean, this works because it's boxy, I guess, but it does look a little off in some respects. I guess especially because of here. It actually is just an angled line. You don't notice it as much though because it's black and it's not the focus. Your real focus is going to be on the lighter aspects of the sprite, right? So it doesn't. Oh, this one my favorite. This track's from Donkey Kong Land. I don't think this. Don't believe this song was ever used anywhere else, and it's not Aquatic Ambience. It's actually a new one. It's one of my favorite Game Boy songs. I don't know who composed it. There's 3 composers listed. I think you can see that on the ticker on the bottom there. DavidWyz did some of it, but I don't know if he was just credited for his compositions from Country, which some of them made it into the game. You know, transitioned, of course, but so I'm not sure about that. Let me see something. Can we get little eyeballs in there? Oh, look at that! Look at that! I just thought of that. Make these lighter pixels. Look at it. Look like little eyeballs. That looks cool. I like that. It's just this shade here that's been pulled off of it. So it makes the coffin actually the 3 shades here. So the palette is really this. And then the second palette is this. If you want to go strictly by NES terms. That looks cool though, because it looks like they're like sunken in eyes and stuff. I like that. I like that. We're saving that. Oh, and I gotta do it to the other frame. That looks cool. That's a neat little bit of detail. There could be other little things I could do. Like make a design or something to make it look a little more interesting, right? Like I could say this is somehow a design here. It's hard with the... Yeah, you could do something like this maybe. say it's a little difficult to pull that off with the corners, but nah, I guess that doesn't work entirely. But something like that. Because you think of like, oh, they've got like little brackets on the corners, right? Sometimes. They're fancy designs. You could do something like that. That and one in particular I'm not sure works out too well, but I think the angle of the sideline is what needs to create the illusion of thinning. Angle of the sideline. This one here? You could do something like this instead. Like if that's what you mean. And at the top. Yeah. Like say, like that. So we get rid of that. I don't know. The only thing is that the details here conflict with that angle. They don't look right. They don't match up. In reverse, I think you might run into the same problem, right? So say you run like this. I think you're gonna run into the same basic issue. You know what? Let me do it one more out. Something like this. Yeah, I don't know. Because then you still have... I don't know, it looks weird. And you still have, like... These are different than the outside. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. I think for now, at least, this gives us, a decent idea of what to expect here. You could do something like that for the little details. I don't know. It might need some black accents here to get across what it is. I don't know. I think there's some little detail improvements you could use to kind of like cover up the fact that the corners are a little weird. But I don't know. Who knows? Something like that. Eh. Let's see. That's not too bad. Is it some kind of like shape here? Could we just do? Nah, it's not far enough out on this one. We need to do something like that. And that doesn't look right. It doesn't look interesting. Looks like nonsense. Either way. So yeah, for now, it is what it is. Could do something like this. I guess you would have to do it on all the sides here. That gives it a little more texture, not gonna lie. It's actually kind of gives it a little bit of a boosted texture here. It kind of looks like the corners are darker, right? It's not too bad. Yeah, getting those extra jaggies, or getting away from those extra jaggies is very annoying. That should really be like that. That's actually not bad for bottom correction. And then for the top here, I would say might want to go like this. There is a discrepancy between this and this, but it's a little invisible because the shoulder kind of masks that transition. Yeah, I agree. Tim's saying if you're in the recording, you probably can't see the chat. On some platforms, you might be able to. And Tim's saying that you need a much more pronounced angle overall. And I think that's a fairly accurate take. I don't think this is terrible, but yeah, at some level, you do need something else. We could make a little fancy, design here. Give it a little more character, right? I wonder if we could get away with a bat here. Or would it be too hard to... Oh, no, actually. Wait, hold on. Actually, looks kind of cool. Little bats on the side? Yeah. We can get away with that. How about that? Look at that. Little bats on the side and everything. We can use more black here. Maybe? Or would it be like this? It doesn't look as distinct. I don't know. Hide the shape issue with details. That's exactly what I'm doing, yes! I don't know. I think it's better if they're just soft details, but it looks too cluttered to me now. So, what we could do is say they're not bats and they're just little dots or something, but I don't know. It still looks pretty cluttered. That's not bad. That's not bad. It looks kind of neat. So we softened the corners and we gave them a little extra detail. You could have the angle you had before, but it would need to be a set pattern. Yeah. Yeah, so at this point we'd have to either angle him upwards. I don't know if the rotation tool will give us anything clean. Probably not. He would have to be angled upwards like this, or he'd have to be angled down like this. But I don't think either of those actually really work, to be honest. This is kind of like the ideal thing because he's got to look a little taller, so he can't be down further. Then he have to reach out too far to reach Ricky. But if he's not slumped, he'll be like really tall. And then that's not good either because Ricky, he shouldn't be too much taller than Ricky. Enough to perhaps just jump over. But if he's too tall and he can't jump over him, that might be an issue. So, I don't know. He's kind of more like a big... I would imagine he'd be an enemy with like a lot of HP. Right? But he's like really strong if he gets you. If he hits you, but he's slow. And he's kind of like in your way, and you got to make sure you don't get trapped. So you have to jump around him to avoid him. And attack him maybe from behind, maybe slow to turn around. I don't know. I guess we'd have to give him a turning frame. Or he'll just mirror around like all the NES games, right? I don't know. It kind of depends on what his actual pattern is. But you can clearly see what the hitbox is supposed to be here, just by looking at him. The hitbox is, and we'll use Ricky's thing here. The hitbox is really this. If you're really looking at it. That's his hitbox. Actually, I should have done that. More like this. So you can see that's pretty much the hitbox that he's gonna have. Simple yet tricky design. Yeah, pretty much. If you were to do this in obviously like full HD or whatever, it wouldn't be anywhere near a problem. You could just use pretty much the design from the drawing and go from there, but that ain't what we're doing unless we decide to later. But you see the idea here is that he's designed to be about 2 blocks wide and about 2.5 tall. And since Ricky should be able to jump up, oh, I don't have, here's Ricky's. Actually, I don't need to use that. And let me increase this here. There. Oh, that didn't move them. It just let's see, 1, 2. There we go. Okay. The idea here is that Ricky can jump up 3, right? So here's the basic, you know what? Let's get this one. Yeah, we can use this. We can use this. The basic metrics of the game, basically the spacing and the height of objects and things like that. Let's make a new background metrics. So I coin metrics as basically being, here's what the game, oh, I guess yeah, that's right, 16 by 16. Here's what the game's basic units of measurements are. And so in this case, you have to think of the design of the enemies. And I've already thought this through while I was drawing it. Wait, I already have it in my, I already have it in my clipboard, but I do need just a single one. I already had this in mind when I was designing the enemy, but here you get to see kind of the thought process. Oops. Could be a new one. So here, Ricky is intentionally about 2 blocks tall, and he's his visual here is actually down into the 4 a little bit, so he gives the 4 a little perspective. But here's the deal. In order for good level design to take place, or interesting level design, unless you have some kind of like wall grappling mechanic or whatever, you typically want your character to be able to jump at least 1 block over their head. That way they can be walking through an area here, or even to exemplify it further, let's remove this and let's copy this, right? Oh, okay, here's Ricky's lair. Okay, say Ricky's coming in this room, and what he wants to do is he wants to go here and he wants to jump up here and continue on. You should be able to at least do this in this kind of game. So typically your jump height is 3.5 blocks. And if you've got enough hang time, then you should be able to clear this enemy as you go over. So that's what I was thinking about in general. Will the monster get stuck? What do you mean stuck? But yeah, either way, this basically ensures that you should be able to jump over him, and you can adjust the hitbox a little lower if you need to. Like, he can't proceed. Oh, hold on, my thing went out. Let me refresh. Like, he can't proceed into that too high. Oh, yeah, he would not be able to. The monster would not be able to proceed into the too high area. He's too big, right? So even if he did, it would look weird, right? Because he's inside the ceiling. So yeah, he would get to here, and then he would have to turn around and then walk back. And I think it could be a proximity thing where if Ricky is around him, he'll start walking toward Ricky. But if Ricky leaves his horizontal field of view, then he would just start wandering aimlessly again. Might even turn around or sit still or, you know, mosey around. There's a certain tension to be had from having to hide into small gaps to avoid some monsters. Yes, I agree. It would certainly be something to consider that he can't quite get to you there. Now, the other thing to consider is whether or not he has a ranged attack. So if he's here, and can he reach out to try to get you for 1 block? Meaning, if the wall is 1 block and you can't go inside here, you can't hide in here because he'll reach out and grab you. I've considered that as a thing, that he may stop and try to swipe at you when you're close enough. And but that would mean that you can't hide in here, but you could hide, and this is also part of the creepy factor. You could hide here. So say Ricky was here, and this dude's just sitting here swiping at him, and you're like, please leave. Go away. Creepy thing. Well, you could do stuff like that. I think that would be interesting. But yeah, I've been thinking about all that in regards to his design, and I'm gonna have to undo all this because I drew that green box on top of him, I think. So I have to go all the way back to undo that. There we are. Yeah. That's kind of what I was planning on doing with his bit there. But I think that would be interesting. I mean, yeah, he walks and he's threatening because he's got a lot of HP, right? But, you know, typically in a game like this, you want a little bit more than just that. So that would be my sort of solution to that. Okay, let me clean up some of the little bits here. I'll make sure everything's kind of in line. That looks alright. Again, we're kind of getting an optical illusion here because this actually would be like here. You don't notice the fact that it's not lined up correctly as much because the shoulder and the arm sort of mask that transition. And the same thing would here, like this is sort of an ambiguous end to the box, which you don't notice because the legs are in the way, so that's fine. It just is what it is. I should be able to knock that out now. Yeah. We'll take that out. Yeah. This song, by the way, is from Super Robin Hood by Codemasters, one of those unofficial NES games. It wasn't that great, but it visually it looks pretty cool. Maybe I'll play it on stream one day, just for the heck of it. It came in the Quattro pack. Got 4 games in one. Got Treasure Island Dizzy, Super Robin Hood, Boomerang Kid, and Linus Spacehead. The Boomerang Kid and Linus Spacehead are pretty much trash. Adventure Island Dizzy is cool, but it's really hard. And Super Robin Hood is interesting, but it's not that great. I would say it's second best out of those 4, but it's not super great. I remember, I don't know where my father got it, if he got it from the QVC. So if you're not in America, I'm not sure if you've got these things, but they were like television cable channels that all they did was sell things. And they were pretty interesting, but they still exist. But I think they've got websites now for QVC and all that. But they basically, I don't know, I guess it targets like the, well, not so much today, but, you know, back in the day, it'd be like, well, you had the housewife stayed home, and she would watch the TV all day, right? And then she would see the QVC channel, and they'd be like, hey, we've got this great new vacuum, or hey, we've got a whole bunch of kitchen knives, or, you know, silverware, or plates, you know, fine china, that kind of stuff, and be like, you call the number and you can order it. And, you know, then they had their payment plans. You can pay for it in 24 installments or whatever, if it's a big thing, or 10 installments. You know, it's one of those kind of things. So if you didn't know what I was talking about, that's it. So I'm pretty sure, because I've seen the other Dizzy games on NES that were sold through those means. This is bugging me here too. Is this right? Let's see, that's 3, and that's really 4, but that's really 3 there. I think that's alright. That looks okay. I just like having this little extra pixel bit here. Kind of, I don't know, kind of makes the edge look less edgy. Something. I could do something like that. This one doesn't need it on the bottom because it's got the additional darkness. Don't break the outline? Why not? You don't like when I break the outline? Ricky's shoes break the outline. His feet break the outline. Look, selective outline breaking, it's a sin. Selective outline breaking is it's a technique and a treasure. I don't know. I think this one here and these two benefit the most from the outline break. This one didn't look too right. This one didn't look right here. Especially since there's still some on the inside. But, this is a weird angle here. Actually, this has the same issue here where this probably should come down and this be deleted. Oh, then it looks weird though still. Because you got this strange... Hey, you could do that. You could do that. That's alright. It's been highly criticized for the last decade. Yeah, well, you know what? Who's criticizing it? It's not me. I don't know, whatever. It's fine. The pixel art community? Okay. Well, when the fans start criticizing you, then you gotta worry. Until then, it's all highfalutin nonsense. Oh, what did I copy the wrong one? Hold on. Copy. Paste. Uh-oh, what happened? Copy. Paste. There we go. But I gotta bring it up. And I guess I gotta... Oh, that don't look right. Hold on. Oh, it's because I didn't break the outline. Yeah, there we go. Now it looks right. And this should be that, right? Yeah. But now he's got a little more detail. He looks a little better. Yeah, he looks kind of cool. Oh, I see a missing pixel. I caught that. There you go. Hide the imperfections with detail, just as you said. When you sell out, you're a sellout. What Capcom isn't break lines, they color their outlines instead. Yeah, I guess it depends. Mega Man 8's kind of like that. They sort of have outlines, but it's all... What's the random pixel in the dark? Oh, that's his leg. I can probably remove that. That's supposed to be his back leg. It's to show the fact that, if there's a hip here, there's actual connection here. I could fill it in, and probably it's not too necessary. It's an unnecessary detail. It ain't his leg. It's a monster something. But yeah, I think it's a unnecessary detail. It's one of those 1 pixel details that you don't need. So when we talk about 1 pixel details, we're talking about tiny little, I don't know if Mario has this, but okay. Well, I guess we're gonna do Luigi, right? Because I got green here. But if you have Luigi here, and in fact, we'll actually use the brown here. You got Luigi, right? A common mistake that people tend to make with pixel art. We got white? Yeah, we got white. I like classic Luigi colors. You go to hell. That's just how I am. So say you've got your Luigi here, right? I guess it would actually, it'd have to be orange, right? Because his skin ended up being orange in Mario 1. So you've got your... I don't know how this would go. It would be kind of like this, right? I don't know, I'm just winging it. And then he's got his hair in the back. Would it be... No, that'd be his eye would be up here. Because it would be more like this. Yeah. And then you need the cap, right? I'm trying to think of... I don't want to copy how Mario 1 did it, but I was trying to think of in that style, so to speak. So yeah, here's your Ouija, right? So here's part of the problem. And in fact, actually, that was one of the issues. If you have this, like, what is that? Is that an ear? Or is it something else? It's kind of hard to tell. So what you want to do is you want to double up on your details. Now it's obviously an ear. See what I mean? In fact, we can even bolster the hat a little more to kind of prove that point. Yeah, it's not perfect, but you get the idea. I think I have to move the body back. And his legs are like way too big now, but whatever. The point is, so here's the other example, right? Here. It's hard to see those little dots, right? Maybe they don't come through quite so well. So instead, why don't we enlarge it? And now all of a sudden, hey, that's way more clear, right? Boomer. Okay, boomer. So the point I'm trying to make is that when you do your details, especially in small pixel art, one pixel doesn't necessarily hold up as a proper detail. Like, you look at it this way, and you can't even, like, see them. Where is that? If you look at it far away, where are those buttons? You can't even see them. Let alone know what they might actually be. So double up on your pixels, and all of a sudden, boom. Okay, now we know what that is. We can clearly see it. It's the overall buttons. Some things are a little harder, like the eye stands out because it's a dark element, so that's fine. This stands out all right. You could probably do this or this with it. That'd probably be the better way to go. Because this gives you sort of an implicit shape of the cap. Yeah, like Tim says, the idea is to have color clusters. So, yeah. Like, you can do little tiny details, but you want to make sure that they're readable, that they're understandable. Because you don't have much resolution to get the point across as to what they might actually be. And this goes for, like, Super Nintendo graphics, too. This goes for anything. High color, you know, even bigger stuff. Like, the smaller the detail is, the less likely people know what it is. And if it's too small and you can't represent it bigger without it being weird, just omit it. Just don't even bother having that detail in. It's not important if you can't tell what it is anyway. And the other thing is you gotta separate between what is readable to someone who doesn't know what the design is supposed to be and you yourself who knows what this design is supposed to be. Like, okay, well, I know Luigi's supposed to have little buttons on his overalls, so obviously when I look at it, my brain says, oh yeah, those are buttons. But someone looking at it might not know what it is. You know, I mean, Luigi's, I guess, not the best example because, you know, he's pretty simple design, but you get something more complicated and it's like, yeah, sure, you could technically add all those details into that tiny NES sprite, but when somebody looks at it, are they really going to know what that is supposed to be? Because your brain fills in the gaps on those things, you have to remember. If you know what it is, your brain fills in the gaps. And a perfect example is, you take a sip of a drink that, say, you thought, you take a sip of water, you thought it was soda, or pop, whatever you want to call it. And when you first taste it, you taste the soda, but then your brain's like, whoa, wait a minute, that's not soda, and then you taste the water. That's the same thing. Like, your brain fills in the gaps. It's expecting something, and it will see that thing. It will taste that thing, and it'll fill in the gaps for you, and you'll see it. But someone coming in without the context, they don't know what it's supposed to be. You hand them a cup and they take a sip and they won't taste something else first. They'll just taste whatever it is, or their brain will come up with what they, want it to be. And the same thing goes with art. So you do have to be very careful of that. Now you can use context and colors to inform smaller details. So for instance, because Ricky has, these are pretty small, these little details here. Although it's a little larger because there's 2 bits to it. If I only had 1 bit like this, I might actually cut that detail entirely and just do that. Because it's like, what is that? Is that a badge on his shirt? Like, I don't know necessarily, but you have other context clues. So you have the other colored thing here as being the strap on his backpack, right? And then you got the backpack as orange. So you kind of make the connection. Oh, this is the backpack and this is the strap for the backpack. It's all one color. And then you can extrapolate from there. Your brain can fill in the gap to be like, oh, because this is the same color and it's roughly in the same location symmetrically, that must be the other backpack strap. So there's stuff you can do to help mitigate that, but try to avoid small details. 1 pixel clusters only work in a few cases. The Mega Man problem. The Mega Man problem? What's the Mega Man problem? Do you have an example? Every US box art? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, so what Tim's saying in chat is that you look at Mega Man, and then the artist's interpretation of what that is supposed to look like as a fully drawn, like painted box art, wildly differs between different people, right? Yeah. And you get all those crazy interpretations. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And I think one of the funniest ones is the European box art for Mega Man 2. You look at it and you're like, I can absolutely see how they came up with that. Let me see if I can find it here. Mega Man 2 EU box art. Yeah, there it is. Oh, it's funny. All right, hold on. Let me open it up. Oh, it's small. Well, you get the idea though. Well, look at it. Look at it. He's got the face. He's got the helmet, but he's like shiny because he's supposed to be metal, right? He's metal, but then he's got the arms. Like it's just funny. Like look at him. It's funny. He's supposed to be a robot, right? So he's shiny. But that's what they came up with. It's so hilarious. It's pretty much like if you look at it, you're like, yeah, I can absolutely see where the artist got this from. And then there's the dragon. There's the fish from Bubble Man stage. That must be the thing from Airman stage. It's pretty funny, right? Yeah, I can find a better version. All right, I'll try. Just for you, Tim. Oh yeah, here we are. I don't know if this is a re-rendering of it, or if this is like the underlying box art, but yeah, here we are. So I don't know what the hell this is supposed to be. This is definitely the fish monster in Bubble Man stage. This is a dragon. Yeah, that's the thing from Airman stage for sure. I don't know what this guy's supposed to be. Not sure about that. I'm trying to think of what enemies are in there. Yeah, but Yellow Devil wasn't in Mega Man 2. Airman? Yeah, it could be Airman. You're right, it could be Airman. He's kind of like darked out, right? But he does have a similar shape. Could be. I was thinking the closest normal enemy might be the monkeys, but I can't imagine seeing that monkey enemy and drawing this based on it. So you're right, it might be Airman. It's pretty funny. Look at his face. This face. I guess it's not quite what's an Airman stage, but it's hilarious. It's really hilarious. And of course, I guess that's the Skull Fortress. I don't know. It's hilarious though. But you see, there's the problem. People's brains will fill in the blanks, and there's proof in the pudding. Makes for a good avatar. It would, wouldn't it? But yeah, so that's a prime example. Whoever drew this their brain filled in the gaps, and this is what it came up with. So yeah, you know, what are you gonna do? It's best to make it as clear as possible. Now, I think yeah, the US ones were worse. Yeah, absolutely. I think for what it's worth, the Mega Man is a pretty clear design. But it does prove the point that people will fill in the gaps on what it is. So Mega Man's sprite work is pretty clean by old standards, and yet it produced such a deviance there that, you know, you have to be really careful. If you're less clean than Mega Man, then yeah, you might run into some problems. People just don't know what they're looking at. At best, it can be confusing, but at worst, it can be distracting, and you don't want that to happen. Because when they're distracted, that means they've kind of been snapped out of the experience, and that doesn't bode so well for your game as a whole. Yeah, there you go. It's coming to get you. Never mind Castlevania. Castlevania had really good box art, actually. But the sprite work was a little muddy in some cases, which is okay. It was the style they were going for. They were going for, I mean, yeah, here's the other thing. You have to remember that these were meant to be seen on CRT TVs. So there are some sprite styles that you look at now that you're like, I have no idea why they did it that way. But if you see that kind of sprite on a CRT TV, sometimes it starts to make sense. Oh, thanks, Grayther Games? Yeah, Grayther Games. Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, so you gotta get that kind of that issue with old retro games. There's a lot of times you're like, oh yeah, that looks pretty good, but you know, I mean, it looks dated or whatever. But if you look at it in an actual CRT display, then sometimes it all makes sense. So one thing I was thinking here, now that I've added all this detail, I think part of the problem though is that like his actual body is not all that detailed, right? So it's making me thinking about walking back some of the anti-aliasing here. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, wrong layer. That was a Ricky layer. I don't know. I never knew Mega Man 2 Sniper Joes were actually humanoid. They looked bizarre with the television distortion. I can't remember long enough or far back enough to say whether I agree with that or not. I don't remember what I felt about them back then. Oh yeah, you can create fake transparencies and such. Now, the Genesis, since you mentioned that, was somewhat of an exception because the composite signal was so terribly bad that you could get away with a lot of things like that. So even if you get a cleaner signal, sometimes those effects do go away. They're not quite as pronounced. Although, like Kirby's Dreamland 3, if you play it on the Switch, that's the Super Nintendo game, if you play that on the Switch, it has weird artifacting, I think, where it's like, you see, like, in every other column, like for the front layers, the foreground in some of the stages, but when you play it on a CRT, it, like you said, it blurs that together, right? And creates a fake transparency effect. Now, I don't remember if there was some resolution thing going on with that too, where I think they used a special resolution mode to make that work right. Don't quote me on it. I remember hearing something about it, but you will not get the proper looking signal without a CRT TV. It's just, it looks like, it's supposed to look like a transparent, like foggy, dreamy, like looking thing over the top of it, but it looks like just columns on an actual thing. Let me see if I can get a picture of it. Let's see. Come on, Google. Kirby's Dreamland 3 Transparency effect. Okay, here's a good. No, hold on. Is this it? Okay, I got a couple of them here. Hold on. Oh, no, get out. Winamp, go. Shoot. Took over my screen. Okay. Here. So, see how they did this? What really happens in the signal is that every other line is missing. And then when it condenses it all into one image, you get the transparency effect. And so you can get things like this. Oh yeah, you can kind of see it here, right? You can kind of see it. You see the lines? You see the lines going up and down through it? You can kind of see that. So this is showing correctly, it looks like, because it's got the image under it. It's transparent. If you play it on the Switch, I think it does not show correctly. That one's bad quality. You can't really tell. This is the best one, though, because you can see the lines. You can see the dark light, dark light, dark light. It's because it merges it all into one. Now, I don't have Kirby's Dreamland 3 for the Super Nintendo, so I couldn't tell you what it actually looks like on a digital signal coming out of the Super Nintendo, as opposed to being, like, emulated through the Switch. So, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's what this is, because this is a pretty clean image. This looks like something, you know, obviously it's a JPEG, so it's got a bit of compression on it, but it kind of looks like something that the first revision of the Super Nintendo would spit out. It's a little blurry, but it's otherwise relatively sharp. So, I don't know. Wasn't there a big problem with one of the Mega Man X4 versions not being able to do transparency? Well, that's a different story. That's the Sega Saturn didn't have the ability to do transparency. And that was a system-wide thing. But it wasn't a resolution or a composite issue. It was just the fact that it just couldn't render things in true transparency. You could potentially fake it. One thing I thought was odd with all of this is that, and this might have just been Konami, but I've noticed it in Mega Man X4 as well. They'll use checkerboarding, so they'll take a polygon and every other pixel is missing, so that's sort of transparency, right? But they don't shift between the frames, between one frame and another, they don't shift which polygon is actually transparent and which one is showing. Or I'm sorry, the pixel on the polygon, whether it's transparent or showing. Because if you checkerboard back and forth, and I'll show you exactly what I mean here. You checkerboard back and forth here, you can absolutely get a transparent kind of thing. Let me do this. And then we'll do another layer here. And we'll do orange, right? Oop. So the idea is that you checkboard it, right? So you can kind of see through it. You can see what's behind it. And we will crop this up here. I will crop it like this. And then so image 2 is going to be every other pixel, right? And we'll turn that back on. So you get this kind of effect. And I'm gonna do 16. So if you're watching in 60 FPS, this will look right. If you're not watching in 60 FPS, it probably won't look correct. But you get the idea that creates kind of a transparent effect, right? And to sell the point further, I'm going to put a smiley face underneath. So, or I don't know, I guess a not so smiley face. But if you do this, oh wait, hold on. Hold on. Did I do that in layer 1, right? Yeah, I didn't do it on the other frame. Okay, so here it's normal, but here, that's kind of a crappy example in that You can't really see him in the back. Hold on, let me change his color to something far brighter. I would use green, I guess. And then for the foreground image here, we'll choose something darker like the red. Take this off. Oh, wrong one. And then this also needs to be green underneath. Same green from before. There. There, see? It's transparent now. You got a transparent red, but you see the green under it. That's what they're doing, right? Use the dithering tool. That only works for gradients. I don't know if it would have worked correctly for this. It's important to have the checkerboard pattern completely. But you see here? You see how that works? Now it's transparent. Give or take on what frames per second you're watching on right now. So if you go every other frame, you change, these are the two images that you see, and they don't look right at all. Like they're weird. Like, what is that? But when you play it fast enough, boom, there you go. You have a transparent red, and you've got green underneath. And further masked by the way that CRTs draw, this is way more convincing on an old TV. Yeah, Saturn can't do transparencies. Yeah, it's kind of a pain. And that's why the version of Symphony of the Night on Saturn looks woefully inferior to the one on PlayStation. Now, there were a couple of specific contextual tricks to get a sort of transparency on the Saturn. Sonic R did so, but it's very tricky and it's a very contextual thing. There's videos on how they accomplished that online, and the guy who actually programmed part of Sonic R, he's got a channel. It's like Coding Secrets or Gaming Secrets, and then he goes into how he performed that. But it was super workaround. Like, it wasn't a standard feature at all. He had to really work to make that go. But yeah, so TLDR, Saturn really can't do transparencies, and they had a lot of issues with that. Now, here's the thing. Unfortunately, the Saturn didn't seem to do this. So where I'm going with this, the Saturn didn't seem to be able to do this. And I don't know why, which would have been an acceptable way to mimic transparencies on a CRT. But Amber has a Saturn, and I got a Saturn, and I hooked it up to a CRT, and you don't get that. You get this. This is all you get. It's just, it checkerboards, but it never alternates which pixel is checkerboarded. So if you have something underneath it, then you see the image move behind it like this, but if it stands still, this is what you'll see. And I can't for the life of me imagine why it does that. They must have been aware of how checkerboarding on a CRT could turn into a transparency effect if you alternated the pixel that's showing, but they never did it. And I've looked at X4, and I've looked at Symphony of the Night on Sega Saturn, on the actual Sega Saturn, the real thing, and hook it up to a CRT, and it just doesn't look right. The checkerboarding does not alternate, and therefore, like, the water in Symphony of the Night doesn't look right. It just looks static, like, it just strange. Where in the PlayStation, they don't have to worry about checkerboarding because it's just transparent, because the PlayStation could do that. So it's weird. It's weird. But if they had just, I don't know if it doesn't have the ability to alternate to checkerboarding, or the devs never figured it out. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we'll get the backgrounds in a minute. The background challenge. I'm avoiding it again. Yeah, I thought the NES had some games that could do the alternating checkerboard, right? I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but I thought that was a thing. But then again, the Super Nintendo could also do just flat out transparency, which, so yeah, why can't the Saturn do that? Kind of weird, right? But hey, who knows? It might have a lot to do with their last minute thing where they wanted to change the Saturn's hardware from 2D to 3D. And so they sort of kind of winged the 3D capability, and maybe that hampered its ability to do transparent stuff. It's possible. I'm not really sure. As far as I'm aware, the way the Saturn handles 3D is it just kind of stretches 2D sprites in a way that look like they're 3D. And it's not like real 3D. No. We can get into the thing where the PlayStation also does similar stuff and it's also kind of wacky. But the point is that they pivoted at the last second. They're like, the PlayStation's got 3D. We need the Saturn to have 3D. And then the devs are like, we don't have much time left. And they're like, well, you gotta make it work. Well, they made it work, but I think it cost something along the way. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, let's look at actually doing some backgrounds here. Now that we've got our walker here, right? We got him all kind of souped up. Part of me is wondering if he's got too much detail still. It's just kind of weird because the arms and the legs don't actually have much detail to them. Like he doesn't have scales. He's just a monster thing. And yet the coffin is detailed. I don't know. We can work on it. It's just it's a prototype enemy, right? So, okay. So backgrounds. Oh boy, backgrounds. Now I've done this. I don't think this is a particularly good pattern. These blocks are not copied from Castlevania, but they're pretty much reminiscent of Castlevania blocks. But that's alright too. And I did do these ones here, but I don't quite like the way they mesh with everything else. I think the first thing we have to do is sort of get a visual style down to the backgrounds. I don't know about oh, okay. Tim's got a quote. I think there were a few reasons I started drawing everything on a black background, not just on the Mega Drive. First, back in those days, I drew most of the graphics on a black background. I just liked that. You could get away with a lot of stuff by fading into darkness. Yeah, that's true. And I think that's what we're going to end up doing here, too. Because it's a dark game, right? You start with dark. You think of, like, Batman the Animated Series. They started with black sheets of paper, and they literally painted the details on for the background. And instead of starting with white and going from there. And I think that's exactly what we need to do here. Because, again, it's a dark game. You want to start with your primary luminance, which is darkness. And then you want to fill in the gaps from there. And that was actually the impetus for this pattern here. I started with black, and I just kind of drew in some details that kind of looked like wood. Sort of like only enough to outline the fact that it's there. So I'm using blue as like a reverse outline in this case, where if that was illuminated, if you saw that blue pattern here, like in the daylight or in a lit room, you would see something that's much closer to this. And of course, I'm just kind of winging this here. But, you know, then you would have the dark here, right? But it wouldn't be completely black. Oh! I don't know why that. Oh, it's because, hold on. This here, you have to click this in order to fill in just an area. Otherwise, it'll fill in all the area around it. But then you would have the little, wood markings here, right? I know this is a really bad example, but you get the idea. But there's a difference between how that looks and how this looks. They just give out completely different vibes. This is, of course, a little too small, but... yeah, so it would be a little more like this. Still crappy, but you get the idea, where we've sort of inverted what's an outline and what's not. And that's the idea, again, of drawing in, starting with black and drawing in your details. Now, I think that works because we're going to have multiple different environments, right? Where we're going to have lit rooms that may not be completely like this, but like subspace like in between the walls and secret passages, you absolutely want to do this. You want it to be dark. You know, you want it to be foreboding. So in this case, I guess the enemy is a little bright, right? But that's okay. It's an NES game. You do have somewhat of a limitation there. But let's pick Ricky out of here, right? And put him over here. And in which case, yeah. So, Ricky and him mesh well. I mean, they stand out. That's okay. You don't need to necessarily change Ricky's luminance here. But there's a big difference between Ricky sitting there and Ricky sitting down here. Where here the 4 is very bright. I guess the background is quite dark, but it's not completely dark. And so he's, you know, he's popped out, but not too well. And here, like, he's really popped out of background because it's so dark here. You know, things like that. See the second quote as well. Okay, second quote Tim posted. It's also quite handy when you're dealing with systems like the Mega Drive, which don't give you much memory to play with. I also prefer to draw to blackness because the contrast on the Mega Drive system was insane. If you would have anti-aliased everything to white, it would have probably gone blind. Or I would have gone blind. That's funny. But yeah, that's also another thing too. So, if you think of like, and I'll do a really quick example here. So yeah, you start with this, right? And it's going to be a very miniature version. But you think of like, oh, I've got a cave background, right? So I've got these like little rock patterns here, and then the actual ground is more like this, right? Got the little rocks on the ground. And then here you could have, you could just fade it down to black. And then like checkerboard it here or whatever. It's fine. So something akin to this. I'm gonna put a little extra bump here. You need a little bit of a connection here. I'm gonna say we're gonna move this one in one, right? I'm not really following the tile grid here, but just to kind of show you what I mean. See, what they're saying is the memory is so low on these games. So say you've got this one pattern here. I don't know how well this is gonna hold up for here. Okay, and then the idea is you've got these little rock bits here, and they kind of shape like the background, right? Like you're inside a cave, and then you could do something like this, and then that shapes your cave wall. But you only use 2 tiles here to make this, and the black fills all the rest of the background. Obviously, it's a quick and dirty, kind of a crappy example here, but I hope you see what I mean. This is bugging me. Just let me fill it in. It's the OCD, it's taken over. There, it looks a little better. But you see the point here. Not only did you only use 1 palette for all these graphics, but the fact that the black is the majority of the background means that you're really just working with like 2 tiles here. Or 3. Hello, C64. How am I doing today? Oh, it's been a day. I'm a bit exhausted, but I'm here. How you doing? But yeah, that's exactly what that second quote is talking about. The fact that you have less memory means you need to unify whatever your background is by using a solid color. And in this case, if you use black, you can just draw the details where you want them and disperse them around the map. And then you get that kind of thing. Now, obviously, you know, computers these days have way more memory. You don't have to really deal with that. But that's part of the look of what things looked like back in the day. If you want to replicate that kind of mentality or that kind of aesthetic, you got to think of what they were dealing with back then and why they did it. And that's part of it. That's absolutely part of it. I keep wanting to improve this little bit here. So I'm thinking like, oh, you could do something like this to help this part of the design, and maybe do that. That looks a little more textured, right? It's kind of nice. So if I duplicate that to the rest, what does that look like? Yeah, there we go. That looks a little better. A little more rounded, a little more dirty. You could take it a little bit farther and add down here. But yeah, you get the idea. Maybe take one off here, right? Yeah, that looks pretty good. Look at that. It's not bad. What are we playing Downwell? And it's pretty much exactly what you're talking about. The game uses like 3 colors, 2 of them being black and white. Yeah, and then like an intermediate color, right? Yeah, it's the same thing. In the using white in the palette actually helps a lot for characters, especially like Mega Man, because you can use it as a universal highlight, a shine on something. Like, so the Met helmets are typically like they're pretty much just this, right? Oh, actually, I think they're more like this, and then they get topped off. But what they do is they use white in almost all the palettes so that they can make a little shine on things. And then they'll use the black. Now this is bad because the background's also black, but they'll use the black to do things like this. And then so all the palettes have black, white, and a color. And then they can use that to pretty great effect, to be honest. I guess it would be more like this, wouldn't it? Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember what they're like from memory completely, but it's something like this. Tim would be able to tell you. He's the Mega Man expert. But you get the idea, right? So, that's a common thing you'll see in NES games. They'll use a white and a black and a color, and then most of the characters will have that kind of color scheme. Not necessarily always, like Mega Man didn't really follow that too much, but it's pretty good. All right. I got the thumbs up from Tim, so it must be pretty good. But most of the enemies will use that because the what's really funny is I don't think the Mets use this palette, but Mega Man's face is, I think, this color. No, that looks a little green. Is it this color? I think it's probably this color. So it's got white, it's got this color, and it's got black. And let me get a new canvas here because we're introducing other colors here. Oh, not that one. It was this. So these were Mega Man's face colors, right? And then his blue palette was actually a separate little palette. But they actually used that palette, I believe, for the Mega Buster. So it was Mega Man's face. Oh, let me get this larger here. So it was Mega Man's face, right? Because it would have the eyes. And then the Mega Man smile, right? I'm just kind of winging it here, but it was something like this, and then he had his helmet on, or whatever. I think it's probably wider than this, but the face part of Mega Man's face, like on the 1-up, would be something like this. And then what they would do, they would use those same colors, because this is a good selection here with the white and the black. They'd actually use it for the Mega Buster. So the Mega Buster shots were like this. But they would highlight it like that, so it looked like an energy shot. But it's all because they can use different degrees of highlighting. They could have done something like this, where it was only like this would even look brighter, right? Because it's got more white than the skin color, and you wouldn't really even notice it. Or you could just You could even do something like this if you wanted. Actually, what I would do is probably this. Then this almost looks like it's got a trail on it. Or something like this. So what are we gonna try drawing? I don't know, I'm getting distracted. I don't know. Okay, so, yeah, because Tim was like, hey, you should try doing backgrounds, right? Koi did do some background stuff. Now this is more like a level layout, but it does give you an idea of the kind of stuff that you can pull off with the landscaping in an area. He also had like this. He had a couple little, you know, hey, what should it look like? Some concept art of what things should look like in here. And here's actually a good example where the wall might be a certain color, but you might have the wallpaper torn here. So I'm trying to think about what do I want to do? Yeah, he put slopes in. This would be hard to render in NES, as it is, but you could get extra stuff. But I like how like there's little cobwebs here and things like that. It'd be cool to have a room that looks pristine, then the lights blink off, and then it's all messed up. Yeah, you could do something like that. That would be neat. Oh man, that just gave me an idea. What if like? Okay, hold on. New canvas. Ah, they're getting smaller and smaller. Hold on. Okay, so what if... I'll draw it in red here. And I'll increase the pixel size so it's easier to see. I'm just gonna draw a diagram. So, right, you got your room, right? And then, say there's a staircase here, and then you can go up that to go to another room, and then you've got what, the lamp here, right? And say that when the light is on, like you're saying, it looks pristine, but then you turn the light off and the room changes and it's like all broken, right? Like it's broken here. So that you can actually go through the stairs and enter into like a new area. So this could still go to the other area, right? So this goes up to the second room. But if you turn the lights off, and we'll put this here without the little halo. So this is on, this is off. Then it looks all messed up and there's actually like there's a hole in the stairs, but it's an illusion, but like when the light's on, you actually walk up the stairs, and when the light's off, you can go under the stairs. We do something crazy like that. And then that gets you alternate routes. Then you have to turn the lights on and off to figure out certain things. It'd be kind of cool, right? You could do something like that. I'll have to... Yeah, so this is on... This is off. We can save that. Yeah, map concept, sure. There. That should help me. Light on, off, hidden, broken down room. Since a haunted house, it's obligatory to have a couple of mirrors you can walk through, or an evil doppelganger jumping through them. Yeah, I like the way that Castlevania Aria Sorrow did it, where you're walking by a set of mirrors in the members' quarters or whatever it was. And there's giant mirrors, and you walk past them and you see your character in them until like you walk past one of them and it's like a zombie following you on the other side. It's really funny. And he'll try to like come out of it and stab you if you stand still. I thought that was kind of neat. I would like to do something like that. I think that's where what we were talking about last time, the difference between flicker and transparency. I think that's where flickering would actually look really cool. And it's pretty easy to do stuff like that. Because you would have, again, small thing here. Where's Ricky? Let's get the copy of Ricky. And then so this is Ricky, and this is foreground. Or let's just say background. Let's say it's just background. We don't need this one. So the easy way to do this, and we'll move Ricky down here. We're gonna put this back to 1. And we want, oh yeah, we want black. So that's gonna be our starting point. Oh, what? There we go. Okay. Then the background will, I don't know, it's maroon, whatever. It doesn't matter. Oh, I want. Yeah. So you would have, like, say, your dark ground here. And then you would highlight it with something like this. And you can do something like this to kind of connect it to the next spot. And have a middle ground thing. So that's like the ground you're standing on, right? And then in the background, we'll just choose green because it will stand out. I'll go a little higher. Hey, look at that. I measured it pretty perfect. And then in the center, we're going to have our mirror. Oh. And maybe we should have picked a brighter green there. There. And then behind there, we want the mirror, right? So I'm just gonna say it's gonna be blue for the heck of it. And so when you have Ricky here, what you'll have to do is put a Ricky behind the background. So here's Mirror Ricky. And he actually goes behind, right? And that way you can see him there. And what you would want to do is to flicker that Ricky every other frame. And it would look like this. And that's how you get your mirror. One Ricky renders below the background, one Ricky renders above the background. And then you get that. And there it is. And let me cut that in. There. Yeah, so it's easy to get that kind of effect. And it looks kind of cool, especially depending on what color you use behind Ricky. He's going to be transparent with that color. And so you can do many different things with it. You could make it... let me link these two. You can make it very, bright. And then it's more, I don't know, light, I guess. But you could also make it dark, too. Of course, that don't look too much like a mirror. You could go, like, really dark. I don't know if that looks like a mirror, though. You think a mirror is just being shiny, right? So I guess you would want to use a very light color. At least as light as this. I suppose the other thing you could think of is... you could have like a frame here, Yeah, let's do that. Let's design it like this. Just like this. Because the color around it's also going to influence what it looks like. It was not very good to have the green around it. But if you've got one that's like this, then you have more of a contrast there. Diagonal white lines? Oh, I see. I know what you mean. So you want it to be... Oh, you could overlay them. Do you want them under or over, Ricky? Because, yeah, you could... What Tim's talking about is having like this. Something like this, where you have the diagonal white lines here all around. Obviously, I'm not tiling them properly, but you get the idea. Because then it looks more like glass, right? Give or take. But then, yeah. The white lines are actually in front of them, so the shimmers are actually in front, which is kind of neat. Thicker and all the way. Yeah, no, I get you. I guess it's more like rain now, but you get the idea. You get the idea. I'm not going for a finished piece here. But yeah, it is interesting because then you do see the shine is in front of Ricky as opposed to the back. It kind of depends on what style you're going for. It's more like, I guess it's more like Minecraft class. I think they changed that though. I think they actually removed the little squiggles out of the Minecraft glass so that you can see through it better now. But yeah, you get it. But yeah, that's how you do mirrors in old games. It's another reason that you want to flicker the characters, also because having that extra sprite is very taxing on the game. Now, in modern terms, no, it's not going to be a problem, but if you were thinking of back in the NES days, having a whole other sprite that big would actually be a pretty big resource to have on screen. That's why a lot of times when you saw this kind of trick, it would be only in a room that wouldn't have any other enemies, or it would be in like a boss situation. So like the doppelganger in Castlevania 3, same deal. It's using the same size sprite as the characters that you play as, which can be pretty big to render in some cases. Especially like when Trevor uses the whip, it's got the big old whip sprite. You know, it takes a lot of horsepower to have that big sprite. You know, both Trevor and Doppelganger could potentially be showing the same sprite at the same time, and that helps. But in cases where there's more objects around, flickering can help because it only appears every other frame. So it's sort of like a resource balancing thing. It's like when too much stuff happens on the NES and things start to flicker anyway. That's kind of the same idea. I actually found out why and how that does that. And it's actually wild, but I don't have time to explain it properly. Essentially, they're always changing the order of what sprite gets drawn. And you can command, as far as I understand, you can command the NES to draw as many sprites as you want. But once you hit 64, it's like, hey, no, I'm not going to do these anymore. And it will stop displaying them. And to get around that, so some objects that would be told to render later on would just completely get, like, it just wouldn't never draw. They'd be completely invisible. So to get around this, they rotate the priority of all the sprites in the game. Sometimes with exceptions, like the main character always has to draw first, but the other ones get rotated in their object slots, and then only the first so many up until that maximum is hit actually gets drawn, and the rest of them are ignored. And the flicker happens because that's changing every frame. So it'll start to rotate in and out different parts of the sprites and stuff. That's typically how the programmers got around it. It's a little more complicated than that. There's some good videos. Retro Gaming Mechanics Explained had a good one on why Mario's eyes in Mario 2 would flash when he's standing in front of a door. It's wild. It's wild stuff, but it's super nerd stuff. Like they get into like assembly code and stuff. It's heavy nerd shit. So if that sounds cool, go for it. Otherwise, you might fall asleep listening to the explanation. But I thought it was interesting because I'm a super nerd. Anyway, we don't need to save that example. I know how to do that. Okay, so we want to actually draw some. We don't need that one either. We want to actually draw some backgrounds here. What should we draw? Should we draw like a hallway? Not like the level select hallway, but we want to draw like this kind of hallway here. Which I'm assuming is basically what he's got here. So you will never see the floor for the most part. So the texture on the floor doesn't matter. But there is a baseboard. I'm guessing that unless the wall is torn, you won't see any texture on the wall. It's just wallpaper. There's no wood here. It's like, because I guess a mansion, so you have wallpaper, right? You could maybe do a little frilly design around the edges, but I can't imagine there'd be too much more to it. Okay, so first thing I want to do is bring up my example here. Okay, and we'll just take the background out. It's actually... Yeah, it's actually... I just like hold and do that. Oh, can you? No, it just took those two. I thought it was gonna select the whole thing for me, but it just took those 2 pixels. I'm trying to see where the picture actually begins here and where it actually ends. It's a little ambiguous with the bricks here. I'm assuming it's gonna be that minus that last. How do I... Nope, that added to it. Is it Alt Shift? Nope. How do I... You know, I'm just gonna do this from the bottom. It'll be easier. So this is 1 from the top, right? And I expect that this will be 1 from the bottom. Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm gonna cut that out. I don't think there's actually a transparent one here. Let's edit this. Can we give it a transparent? It won't let me. Oh, maybe? I don't know now. Can I just cut this now? What'll happen? No, it just goes to black. I don't know. I don't know what's going on now. Oh, because this used to be transparent. When I had this highlighted, that was transparent. Okay, well, I guess I can just color this that. No, that didn't work. Hold on. Here. I guess that works. I don't know. You know what? Here's a good way to solve this. We're gonna up the colors. And then properties. And then we can use something completely invisible. It doesn't work. Really? Oh, I changed that one into that. Hey, how about this? Can we change this to this? Really, it doesn't work like that. Airsprite's weird sometimes. Sometimes it pisses me off. Is that this? Yeah. Okay. Wait, what if I use the erase? It turns to black. Why does it turn to black? Oh, this is infuriating. I don't know how to switch modes with Airsprite to get it to be transparent in the background. Okay, that's better. We made a new image. This is going to be the HUD, and then we want underneath it, we want the background. And then what we call the flood, or the... yeah, I could call it the flood. The flood color or the fill color. And that is the default color that you're working with when you're building your background. In this case, what I'm going to do is this. So that if I take the HUD away, then we can see that it's just that. So the other thing I want to do, and we'll hide this for the moment. One thing I want to do is to view the grid. And we'll do 16 by 16, right? Now these aren't going to be quite right, which is why I'm going to have to bump it up. One more. Nope, I'm sorry. 2 down. 1, 2. Want to get the grid lined up with the inside here. And this just makes it easier for me. It's not a necessity. But... okay, yeah, I did have it right. I figured. And then with the HUD, we could technically just mark this out as black. Just to get a cleaner image. And then your flood color, of course, is still black. But now we have the guideline of the grid to help us out here. In fact, I don't know if black would be the color we want to use. If we want to pick... oh, let's see. It's got little chandeliers and stuff, right? We could pick red. Red's an easy wall color. We could pick green. So green and red are typically associated with horror in terms of color, because red is blood, it's malice, it's violence. And then green just happens to be a very contrasting color that works with red. You can't be careful, because otherwise you'll end up with Christmas. But yeah, red and green are typical horror palettes. So if red was the background, then green would be the foreground, and then if green is the background, red would be the foreground. I think it would make more sense for red to be the foreground and green to be the background, so let's try that first, right? That's a pretty well lit room, so we'll start with this green, and then we'll do red. Typically ground is 2 blocks high, and ceilings are typically 1 block high. Oh, I'm sorry, was that the flood? Oh no, that was the HUD. Shoot. Okay, hold on. We want to go to the flood color and use the green, and then we want to draw on the back. I guess I would just block it out. I don't know. I don't know much about background work. My theory is you just block it out and work from there, right? Walls are typically going to be just 1 thick. We can fix that quick. We're gonna fill it in anyway, so it's no biggie. Oh, and a little bit here. There. Just kind of winging it here, but now we can do dark walls, depending on what we want to do here. So a good example of what I mean is, say you have like these blocks, right? What you could say is that anything past the first detail level is dark. In which case you would have something like this. Or only up to a certain detail level is actually taken here as light. Let's see, this is 1, 2, 4, 5. 1, 2, 5. So we would cross section it here. Like this. You could do something like that, and then this would extend all the way up to the top. Oh, that was a little off, but you get the idea, hopefully. Cut this off here. Cut this off here, and we'll just fill it in. You could do something like that, and that gives the walls a sort of mysterious look to them, like you don't really know what's behind them. And then you can have other details out here. It's like it's white here. The farther you get into the layer of the wall, the darker it gets until it gets to be black. That might actually be part of the way to go with our aesthetic here. It's been something I've been thinking about in the back of my mind. Which actually would mean that the bottom here would have to be dark. Which actually would make sense to do the fill-in method from the black to the detail. So, let's see what we got here. We got a rug. It looks kind of like wood on the bottom, right? It's wood, hardwood floor with a rug. How would you represent that? I know like Mario 3 has very big giant wood blocks. And I actually did that in one of my older ones. Yeah, right here. Kind of like the Mario wood. I don't like the way this looks though, so I've already decided to trash it, but man, I don't know. I'm no good at like environmental stuff. The other thing is, do you want to outline things? The characters are outlined, but should the environment also be somewhat outlined? And by that I mean, if you were to make a wooden block, does it look like this? Or does it instead look like this? Those are two different styles to do this too. If we get Ricky in here to look at. It's kind of debatable. What do you think looks better? In fact, let me duplicate that. And you can kind of see how they connect with one another. And let's turn the grid off too while we view this. So you have, oh, I moved the wrong layer. So you have like this. Oh. What happened? How come I can't copy Ricky? Here. So this is like two ways to do this. Well, to be a little more generous to this, you could do more with this. Let's see, that's the other side, right? You could do something like that. It doesn't look very good, does it? Let's use a third color. You can actually use like black here. You can actually do a lot with things like this. And where here, I guess you would just do it like this. In which case you would probably mark out the blocks like that. You see how they do give like different kind of looks to them. Oh, I did that on the Ricky layer. Crap. Okay, hold on. We'll undo it. Hold on. Oh, we'll put it on the background. There. Oh, it didn't capture the other side. That's alright. We can redraw that. Why can't I redraw that? Is the Ricky layer? Yeah, the Ricky layer is screwing it up. Okay, hold on. Easy fix. Bonk. There we are. Okay. So if we take Ricky out, we can kind of see more of what's going on here. Well, we can do it this way. You know, actually, what I would do here, I would do this. Yeah, there we go. Something like that. In fact, we could do something like that. Oh. And that way, when you layer them out, they don't have to have a hard, let's see, and I'll put one over here. They don't have to have a hard outline at the front of the brick, but also on top you have a bit of a flat surface, almost like a pseudo I don't know how to put it, like a pseudo perspective into it. You can enhance that further by doing something like this. Oh, that's the pixel I'm missing, I think. How should this work? Should it be like that? Part of me doesn't think so. You could do that. Yeah, you could do something like that. And then when it's on its own, it looks like this, right? As opposed to the outline style. And then you have something like this. Where... Ricky layer, here. Where Ricky stands, and this is why he stands one pixel into it. So he kind of looks like he's standing in the middle of that bright spot. And the bright spot looks a little angled, so you get kind of a pseudo perspective out of it. I kind of like the way that looks. I think that might be a good way to go. I mean, just if you're doing just blocks in general, which, you know, maybe some levels could be that. I don't know. This is hard. See, what should the inside of the mansion's walls look like? Like, if you're looking at the top of the floor, it's wood, right? Yeah, but does that look interesting from the side? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe instead it's just blocks. I don't know. Simon's Quest used blocks for their mansion, and they got away with it. I don't know. I think Castlevania would actually be a pretty good visual study, right? So let's take a look at, let's see, Video Game Atlas. Look at how Iconoclast does environments. Yeah, but they're like Super Nintendo, PlayStation. Castlevania. Yeah, I'll do 2. Simon's Quest. It's not the most technically advanced one, but Berkeley Mansion. Here we are. Copy image. Let's just paste it right so we can take a look at it. You notice something though? Here's your red and green. Remember I was telling you about the horror palette? Red/orange and green. And they're using gray for stone. Because they got a lot of texture here because this is a brick dungeon. But notice how they avoid detail around the stairs, so they don't have to draw additional tiles to manage that stair transition. So they just use black. And this is another example of paint from black. All these are painting from black onto something else. They start with black and then they just draw in the brick. I guess these ones aren't quite as applicable because they're all like brick texture. Of course, you get like the big bricks exposing the small bricks is kind of cool. But yeah, what I tell you about that horror palette, you'll see that a lot in Castlevania, I bet. Yeah, here's another one. It's not quite green, but it's red and like a dark teal, which is close to green. Dark teal, dark blue. You'll find a lot of that usage. Oh, let's see. Dracula's Curse, probably better thing here. I don't know. Man, Dracula's Curse is really complicated tiling. Of course, they've got weird things where they get the simple blocks, right? The orange blocks, but then the green in the background. And then they got the brown. So it's kind of like a green and red, green and brown. You'll get derivatives of it. You get the orange and the red on the ground itself. It is kind of messy, yeah. They use a lot of the same little patterns here, but it has a certain charm to it. I don't think that that's quite the way I want to go, but yeah, they use a lot of different, like they'll use little 8x8 textures, and then they'll create, like, see, this is the same texture. I'm sorry, this is the same texture as below it. The same thing. And then they'll have, I don't know, just a blank one, and then they'll use this texture. And then they'll use this texture up here again. Or, well, it's somewhat similar. And then they'll mix and match things and use different colors, and it gets a very textured look to it. Like up here. It looks a little scrambled, but when you're just kind of passing through the hallway here, it doesn't look that bad. It looks quite damaged and broken down. But they did it artfully. They didn't just do it at random. They did it very artfully. And I have to applaud them for that. Like, they really knew how to give texture to it by the time they were here in the series. And you can do those like clumps of tiles. I forget what they call those, but those were common that they would have pre-established patterns, bigger patterns of tiles, and they would use those to cut down on memory, I think. And they would build the map with those bigger, like, 32 by 32 chunks. Or in this case, they probably used 8 by 8s and went with 16s. Because you see a lot of repeating textures here that look like tiny little chunks of other ones. But they certainly could have done an 8 by 8 grid of 32 by 32 area. And so there'd be 4 8 by 8s per thing here, and then, you know, times 4 for all 4 blocks. It's certainly possible. I forget what they call those, but it's kind of like batching tiles into big tiles and then using that. Yeah, because you see here, here's the thing. You see that right here. Here's the tile group. And then they just use that same tile group over here again. It's the same thing. And this is what? Yeah, 32 by 32. So there you go. It's exactly what they're doing here. It's the same pattern. So it looks like they're doing 32 by 32 tile groups. And then they're basing everything off of that. Yeah, you see that here too. This window and its surrounding texture repeats right next to it. So I bet that's what they're doing. So they built 32 by 32 super tiles out of 8 by 8 small tiles. Oh, so you're saying that Iconoclast doesn't render what's inside the ground, instead it renders the surface exposed to light? Okay, well, let's take a quick look then. Iconoclast Screenshots. Okay, I kind of see it. Let's see. Let's open that one. Sort of. They sort of do it. Not 100%, but let me. If I can. Oh, that's a shitty quality. They kind of do that, where you see the texture here and then it gets dark. But there's still texture inside the wall here. But I see what you're saying, that it gets dark and it goes to the dark dirt color. But then you still have little patterns on the inside. I guess that helps keep it a little more stylized and colorful. Yeah, here, so there's the light parts, but then yeah, it just fades basically to their dark color. I don't want to say black, but it's essentially the idea. Good technique for low color. Yeah, it certainly cuts down on the amount of detail you need. That's what made me think of it. Yeah, you can even see right here in this respect. Let's copy this. Let's bring this into Sprite. Oh, it's a JPEG, but still. But yeah, same thing here. The light and it goes to dark and then it's black. Well, not black, but you know, it's as dark as that section of the palette would let you get. And they sort of have a second layer here, so the grass layer has its own brightness and then it goes all the way to dark. So, yeah. I think that makes sense for the horror aesthetic. Now, Castlevania sort of does this. If you notice that only the top layer is where you stand, and then it's dark underneath, right? Same kind of idea here, and they do this with the floor, with the dirt. Not so much with the blocks, but they don't fill in down here. They'll fill in the walls, but they won't fill in down here. And I think that's deliberate. They keep the floors thin, and it either shows through or it cuts to black. Like here. Shadows come in, it's all black. There's nothing under these platforms here. There's nothing under platforms here. It's just a pit. It's black. Yeah, and down here, there's nothing under here. And here's the ground again. It fades to black. So yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a good a good way to look at it. You can do that like with the mountains here too. Although it's a background element, it's a little easier to get away with here. But it's just, you know, the moonlight shines on the mountain, and then underneath it is nothing. Just black. So yeah, at least show detail on the first block, but anything below that. Yeah, they kind of do that here too, where they use it to cast a shadow. There's nothing under it. It's sort of an implicit fade to black, even though it's not drawn to be gradiated to it. It still shadows it. And things on the right too. Yeah, Mega Man does not do that. Not at all. Mega Man's fully textured all around. So in this particular case, if we were to take these blocks, what would happen then is they would just be either completely black underneath, or probably what I would prefer to do is that they would be kind of like this, and then you could do something like this. Actually, not like that. I would probably do it like this. Right? That sort of gives the idea that there's something below it. Or maybe not even that much. I think connecting them might be the better call here. Or do it only on that side. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And that way it looks like it's the same pattern, but it's been darkened, right? It's being shadowed out. So if we cut that, I'm gonna get rid of those. I'm pretty sure that this is the kind of style that I want at this point. But look how much moodier it looks already. Yeah. And then I'm gonna do this in reverse. I'm gonna go from top down, Then you get an effect like this when you go vertically. And let me copy this. Now you don't have to use the same for the walls, but you can kind of see where this is going, right? Even if you don't use it for the walls and ceiling, you still get that kind of look to it. Oh, that's not good. We don't want that little fringe. Yeah, let's do it like that. Oh, I see how that fringe got up there. There. You see how that looks now? Where it fades to black. And you've got that sort of shadowed look to it. I like that. I think that's really nice. Background pixel test. Right? I think it looks nice. Gonna give or take on the ceiling, but it's making me wonder now about the background. The flood car, yeah. What if we build around? Oh, let's view the grid. Well, if we build around the fact that we want darkness, right? Be kind of the theme here. We could shadow out corners of the grid here. Is that the same line? Yeah, it is. So I'm going to cut it out here. And you could have kind of like this pattern. But you want to dither it. I think that's right. Dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, white, dark, white. White, dark, white, dark. I guess this would have to be white. You could have something like this, right? You gotta start doing things to break the grid. Yeah, I know. I'm just look. I've never done background stuff kicking me breaking. I gotta start with the grid, and we'll get from there. We'll start doing things from there. Light, dark, light. Yeah, I can do light, white, dark, white, dark, white, dark. Do something like that, kind of like give the impression that there's some sort of, you know, darkness around the bottom of it. Now you can also do this in conjunction with a baseboard, and I'll show that in a second. But you already get kind of the idea that it's kind of like dark down there. The light's not reaching to every corner of the room, right? Like that, I think, is kind of the idea to go for. Now I'm just doing these very haphazardly, but you can overlap some of these. So, well, let's put this one here first. And crawl it up the walls. Probably don't want to just copy paste like this, but I think you get the idea of what I mean here. As a quick example. Oh, I didn't get enough of it. I need the full tile. This would probably be easier in Pixel, because then you could actually just do the tile sheet. And then let's say we just want like half of this one, right? And then we can make a tile in the corner here that works for both of them. Right? Something like this. Oh, like this. Something like that, yeah. See how that works? If you produce these well enough, you draw these well enough, you could literally reuse the same tile here and then go up the wall with it. And here, we just kind of omit the corner, but we could make a corner. Yeah, like this. Oh, sorry, hold on. Erase that. Add this. And the thing is, we're actually drawing this on the background layer, not the flood color. We're just filling in details from the side and below. Hey Oaks, what's going on? It's not bad. It's not bad. How about you? Oh yeah, and then Ricky now, we can bring him down. See what he looks like actually on the ground, right? I'm gonna get rid of the second Ricky. It's starting to look like something, right? Let's see, can we give him... Oh. A more subdued. I kind of like that green. That actually looks pretty good. Of course, the little details here are not quite. But if I go here and I choose mask, I think I can just get rid of those. Yeah, there we go. Then our flood color is just different. I like that. It's a little more of a teal. Goes more with the browny red here. So the next thing I want to do then is to bring in that baseboard. So I want to copy up to, what, 4 or 8 here? So 9, 8, 8 tall. Oh, is that 8 tall? Okay, that's fine. It just didn't look like it was as tall. What we can do is just move this up here, right? And then we can do that baseboard, but what we need to do is we need to make it subdued because you can't make it too bright or it will look like a platform that you can step on. Oh! What I didn't have? How come I don't? Where's my black? No! Ah, I got the wrong tool on here. There we go. Okay. Now, no! Where's the break? Why is it broken? Oh, it's because I didn't have the contiguous or whatever on. Oh, and here, this is just for this one. I'm gonna do 8 by 8. Make sure I get the detail right. Day wasn't great, but I'll survive. Yeah, well, truth be told, I'm kind of in that camp right now, too. So I get you, man. So here you want to be very dark with things here. You could just, yeah, you could just go all the way to the edges here. Typically, when you do something like this, you'll want to do the detailing in black. You do something like this, like a wavy pattern. I don't know, I'm just winging it, but... There, and that's your baseboard. You don't want it to be bright, again, because then it'll look like... it will just look like a platform that you can stand on if it's too bright. There. There's baseboard. And you can do the same thing up here. Kill this. Move this up. And there's baseboard. You'll probably want something, now you definitely want something along here to kind of cover the gap, but you could do this. Then you can leave that gap open, that's fine. I would eventually put a tile there, but an NES game may not bother to do that. And look at that. Now we got a bit more texture going on. How about that? Neat, huh? Oh. Well, really? How come it? Why is it doing that? Oh, because it's connected on the end. So you could make that top one brighter. It doesn't look too much like a standable platform because again, your highlight for standable platforms is actually this. Now that looks like something you can stand on, but here, not too bad. In fact, you could get away with potentially doing some sort of little pattern here. Oh, actually, I overstepped my bounds there because the pattern actually ends here. Yeah, if you do that, then what happens is you get this kind of pattern, which is neat. Nice little detail. I don't know if it's too much. Now, you know what? So it's so thin. Here's the other thing you gotta think of, like thickness. That's part of why I made this as thick as it was, because it looks like you can stand on it and it's got some volume to it. But then when you do like a thin detail like this, it doesn't look standable. Because it's not the same conventions. And you have to maintain these conventions throughout the entire game, otherwise you will suffer issues of consistency, confusing the player. They'll get used to what the floors look like, even if they don't think about it consciously, but they will get used to it. And that becomes a problem if you suddenly change what that looks like later on. But there you go, so you got a little more detail here on the baseboard. And now it doesn't look so bland. It's actually starting to look like a thing. Alright, let's do a little touch up over here. Because I want this to look kind of good and not crappy. Yeah, these are pretty solid, right? Maybe I want to do that instead. There, that don't look too bad. But there you go, you got your red and your green. There's your horror palettes. It's not too shabby, actually. Oh, the cat? Cat's doing so-so. So, yeah, I went over this earlier, but, let me think how to say this again. How did I explain it before? Basically, we're kind of like on our last treatment option. So they've narrowed it down. It's actually there's retinal damage by the eye, and it may... There's a small chance, unfortunately, that it may be reversible. And we're basically doing the treatment that should be what it is. Unless... Well, see... They keep saying that like they don't really see this kind of thing in cats, and they're not really sure exactly what it is, but I guess their best guess is that it's an autoimmune disease or something. So they're gonna give her like immunosuppressants, and if it clears up, cool. But if it doesn't, there's a chance that, unfortunately, the more likely chance is that it's not going to clear up, and so we'll see. She might regain her sight and she might not at this point. And after that, the way they were talking was kind of like, yeah, that's kind of really all we can do about it. And if this doesn't work, then unfortunately that might be the end of the road. So, not good. Not good. And I'm not happy about that. As you can imagine. Yeah, we just found that out today. Probably what I would do up here. Yeah, what I would do up here. You could do the opposite, right? Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I am too. And I hope something comes up. It's getting more difficult to, more difficult to deal with it. What if we did something like this? I don't know. I don't know if that works. Might have to do something different for the ceiling. I thought maybe I could do a quick and dirty thing. But beyond that, what I wanted to do, and we'll have to bring the grid back with an 8x8, is basically make this black, right? Just completely black underneath. And then we'll use the corner piece up here. Shift V? Yeah. Uh-oh. Shift V. There we go. Actually, I'm gonna have to delete this tile first. There. And then we can use this same pattern upside down. Oh, not HV. Yeah. And this kind of gives that shadow effect that we've seen, where the block underneath the solid or the floor becomes shadowed by the floor itself. Just like we saw in Castlevania. And we can get a little more fancy. We've got more RAM to work with, obviously. We can do whatever we want for the most part. So then we want to cut this out, move this here, and basically just mirror what we have here on the other side. And that gets us our top. And for now, just for now, I'm going to tile these across the top so we have something that's physically up there to look at. But you don't need to do that. In fact, you could just make it black. But if you do make it a solid like this, then it at least denotes that you can't jump through it. If it was black, it would be like Mario, where you could just jump up through the top of the ceiling, because it's just sky or whatever. But even like underground, you could do that. You don't want to necessarily give that impression in this game. But yeah, see, so now you get that shadow effect, which I think looks kind of cool. Now you probably want to be consistent with that. So unfortunately, that adds a lot more work whenever you need to make a platform, for instance. So say you want to make a platform like here. then it ends up looking like this, potentially. Or say, I don't know, hold on, this one's gonna be a little tougher because I didn't keep the 16 by 16. In fact, I should keep 16 by 16 in this case. It would be nice if I could have an 8 by 8 and a 16 by 16, but the lines would be different, right? So the 16 by 16 would be blue, and then the 8 by 8 would be like a faded blue or a green or something. That would really help. But yeah, say if the idea was you're supposed to jump on there so that you can jump up here. And you would end up with something along the lines of this. Yeah, you could even do something like this, let's say. And then say this is an exit point, right? Yeah, it doesn't keep the selection. That's all right. There, and it'd be something like that. Yeah, exactly, adds a little depth. Looks kind of nice. So you can get away with that. I mean, the shadow doesn't have to be that intense, but I think that if it is that intense, I mean, you could just cut it as thin as that. But I think if it's that intense that it looks pretty nice, it gives a bit more oomph to it. You could, again, cut this part off here. Let's see. 8 by 8. This is 8. That's 11? Damn. This is 8 by 8. Wow. Small. So you would want to rotate this, and you would put it, how would this work now? Yeah, it would be from here. I'm sorry, you're gonna need this whole bit, I think. Again, wish I had a double layer of grids here. So 8, 8. Vertical, and we want to get rid of this. Yeah, so it would be like this on the side if you really wanted to be fancy about it. You would want to do something like this. Oh, is it control quote? Is that it? Oh, okay. That works. You can do that on and off. And then it looks like that. If you want to be really fancy with it, make it nice. But this gives it that high contrast kind of look to it. So yeah, you would want to do that for all of these sides then too. And this would basically just be a wholesale drop-in replacement for this. And there you go. And then I would leave this gap completely black up here. I think that looks good. I wouldn't do anything with that. I would leave that completely black. I think that looks pretty cool. Kind of gives you the idea that the light is not reaching all the corners of the room. And there's shadowing because these have popped out, right? And you see that both in the thick, bright top and the extended shadow below. Not too bad for my first outing, right? Not doing too shabby. And the black makes a natural border for this baseboard here. You don't even have to worry about that. It's just a natural border for it. You don't need to make a fancy tile to end it. I mean, you could. You could say that, like, oh, it stops here or something. Oh, it's fancy, right? You could, but you don't need to. Because the black, again, makes a natural border for it. You're drawing details from the black out to the player. So your black is your natural state, and therefore you can just end things to black, and that's that. It's also nice because it connects blocks that are next to each other along the floor here. But then the suspended blocks don't necessarily have to have them. And that also helps you get a clear idea, you know, the difference between the floor and something that's suspended. Oh, it looks like this one got chopped off a little. So yeah, if we take the flood color out, you'll see everything is just a detail on top of that. And you could certainly do the opposite too. And you could make things lighter and go to a black background. But I would say that that would be better for like an inside the wall kind of look. Makes me wonder, in that case, would you just do 2 black? Let's see. We made this black. Yeah, that doesn't look right. Maybe if this was much darker, I don't know. It doesn't look right though. I think you would have to make the black here lighter, because it's like when you're in darkness, if the background is darkness, then you've got light that's subtracting into the darkness. So you would actually have a lighter outside color here. So just as an example, you would have the opposite. You would have, take this off. You would have this, and then on your background here, then you would have this, and it fades into the black. So it's light fading into the black, as opposed to the other way around. If you started with black, that's probably how I would do that. And then it would actually look like there's light there. Although you wouldn't, you probably wouldn't want to extend it so far from the top. In fact, this would probably just disappear at the top. You wouldn't even have the pattern. It would be interesting for sure. But yeah, I don't know. Tim, are you still here? I think Tim's gone. He hasn't said anything in a while. I was gonna say, what do you think of it? And of course, if you remove the HUD. Oh, I see a little issue. There. The screen looks like this. Thank you, thank you. Just don't know about the change of perspective between grounded and air. What do you mean exactly? Because the shadow is so big, or? No, honestly, I would probably put some kind of prop here instead of just the blocks. But just as the overhead on the floor. The overhead on the floor. Overhead. Or whatever it is. Well, this is kind of the darkness of the corners of the room. That's what this is supposed to be. It's supposed to be the shadow of the room as it reaches the edge of the room. The tile above the floor tile. Oh, that's just like a runner, like a baseboard along the wall. Yes, this is not Pocket Fighter EX. This Thursday we're doing a retro platforming game. Pocket Fighter EX is on Monday. Yeah. Yeah, we do Mondays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, then that's Pocket Fighter, and in the mansion platformer. And then Sunday we play a game. Same time, but the 2 dev days are Monday and Thursday. Why, just don't tell me Twitch says that it's Pocket Fighter again. Let's see. It better not. I'll be so mad if the title says Pocket Fighter. No, it doesn't. It does not. Okay, good. I was about to get real mad, because that's what happened last time. Yeah, no, it says Retro Mansion. Stop freaking me out. I keep thinking I screwed something up. But, it's fine. It's alright to ask. Questions are encouraged. Anyway, yeah, I would have some different ceiling texture though here. Like, these work, but the fact that, like, you see the brightness on top makes you think you can land up there, and that's not true. And in that way, too, you would also say that maybe the walls here should not also have that. But since we just quickly used the same tile, that's just what we ended up with. No, Pocket Fighter EX is not an open source project, and neither is this one. So I do not share source files from any of the projects. I'll show some of the source on stream, but I won't actually distribute the thing for it. You can pay for that. I'd feel bad. They're not very good. My programming is abysmal. You would actually pay for that? I don't know. If I was actually paying, if I was actually distributing the engine, I would probably wait till it was complete, but I wouldn't part with it for a paltry sum. I'll put it that way. But yeah, either way, it's closed source, at least for now, money or otherwise. Yeah. So if we bring the HUD back, then it gets. You can see the nice darkening around it. So what did we end up with at first? We said this is how many from here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it's 4 from the top. We're covering 4 from the top and bottom. That's because it's wonky. We made basically a widescreen NES sort of thing here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, excuse me. And then from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Okay, and so the screen would look like this. Do I draw my own sprites? In Pocket Fighter EX, most of them are based off of the official Neo Geo Pocket Color games, but in this game, Tim and myself have drawn all the sprites. So all the things on this screen are mine. Tim helped a little bit with refining Ricky, and everything else I drew. Yeah, this looks alright. So yeah, again, I would want to make these perhaps, like you see here, you can make these platforms as other things on the wall, like a closet or, you know, the table, something like that. And I think Koi's concept here did that, where you could move and jump on chandeliers and shelving and stuff. I don't know exactly how I want to handle that yet. There's some details that are nice to have that are only details in the background. Like, would Ricky realistically be able to jump and land and sit on a little thin shelf like that? Or would the shelf break under his weight? Now, you can't think in realistic terms all the time, but it is kind of a good litmus test to be like, how ridiculous is this? Obviously, here, having bricks just coming out of the wall is ridiculous, but it's a video game, right? Okay, whatever. You can kind of deal with that. At least physically, it looks correct. If Ricky were to stand on this, oh, it's a thick surface. It's not thin. It doesn't look like he'd fall through. It doesn't look like he's too heavy to stand on it. And sure, it's popping out of the wall. It's a little weird. Whatever. Video game. But there are certain things you can wing and certain things that are harder to sell to the player. I would say that a shelf like that would look a little strange for Ricky to stand on. Not necessarily that NES games have never done that, but I think most good NES games wouldn't entertain that as being a platform. It would just be a background decoration. Oh, here's the other thing. If you were to go up overlapping stairs like that, how would that work? Would it work like Castlevania? Those are things to think about, because those are very important decisions. And you got to think of what the ceiling is going to look like. Chandeliers, maybe. I could see Ricky jumping on a chandelier. Without it being able to swing left and right, I would be a little wary of it. So like Castlevania 4 had the good idea where the giant chandeliers, they would swing from the ceiling, and that would be cool. If they were just stationary, I'd be a little less likely to do that. But little statues and things are nice little starters. Candles, yeah, let's draw a candle. That's fine. Let's get our grid back. Uh-oh. We resized the thing. Hold on. Undo. Oh, okay, good. I think we're all right. Yeah, hold on. I was cleaning up stuff there. You can't see it because the other layer is on. Oh, let's see now. What do we want to do? How do we want to do this? This would be the flame. This would be the base, right? What did that one look like? It's like a double candle, right? It's affixed to the wall. Comes out on both sides. Okay. So the basic shape here is that it comes out here. Yeah, okay, that's gonna have to be a little smaller. But I think we should bring it down here to here. We'll probably want to use some black. I don't know if we want to completely outline it, but we'll have to do something along those lines. And this needs to only be highlighted. It shouldn't be too bright. Because again, bright things can indicate that you can stand on them, and we don't want to indicate that you can stand on this thing. It should be quite uninteractable in most capacities. I don't know if I should make this soft or not. Again, this is where I'm not experienced in background, so I'm just kind of winging it here. But let's see if we can get at least this candle here. So it goes up from the sides. He drew it just kind of willy-nilly. I would say that we want to cut back one. There's a little bulb, and then a saucer, and then the candle. So, something like this. then the candle itself. Oh, this is gonna be a pain because you could do that. You could do that. That would be alright. You could do that. My only problem with this is that now you don't have enough brightness to get like a glow off of this, you know what I mean? And you can sort of pretend that the flame is glowing, but that's only going to get you so far here. You want it to actually be affecting the environment. I think the other thing I'd like to do is to move these in, which means that these need to move in. Probably what I would do here is to double up on them. Like I said before, 1 pixel detail is not always too great. So the realization here is that we need a new palette. This will not stand as is. We need something a little brighter. So what we can do, and I don't know. Yeah, okay. No, all right. I know what we can do here. Oop. We're gonna have to do something like this. Oh, yeah, we could do this. And do we want to go to the next level too? Yeah, that's alright. Then in the background, because it's shining light on it, so it's going to be a little more illuminated. We can cover this up on the bottom. Maybe like that. Yeah, something like that's fine. Or just shadow the bottom. So let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, and 4 colors. No, we can't do it that way. Nope, not enough colors. I'll have to do it like this. Uh-oh. It killed all the other black. Hold on. It would have to be like this. Ah, this is becoming a pain. Much more of a pain than I figured it would be. Oh, right, and the other thing I would like to do here, I want to make 2 different types of flame. So a darker and a lighter flame. So when the flame flares up, you've got more, of a flicker, and then it can rotate back and forth or alternate. So you can do like this, see? And it's kind of an animation in its own, something like that. It's not perfect. It doesn't look too great, but that's the idea, right? So the other thing to do here now, and I'm going to do this on another layer just to make my life easier, but they're going to be merged into one layer. And what I want to do here is to make a circle around it. Because it's glowing, right? You want it to be glowing around it. It looks okay. It looks a little washed out. What if we've got another color of green to use? What if we use the green instead? No, we don't, because it breaks the palette limits. Maybe. Well, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, no, it breaks palette limits. Oh, this is infuriating. Why did we have to stick to NES limits? It does, but it's too many colors for NES limits. You got the 3 here, but then you've got a wash color, so it's the 4th one. But you can't do that. The wash color has to be the same throughout the entire image, and that's actually the green here. It has to be shared by everything. Or typically you would either use the most common color, or you would use black as your common color. It's typically the two ways it goes. Like in Mega Man, a lot of times they use blue for the sky. Like in Crash Band stage, the wash color or the flood color, whatever you want to call it. It paints the entire image, the entire screen one color, and then it plots the tiles onto it. So in Crash Band stage, that's actually blue until you get to the upper atmosphere, and then it turns dark for night. That's how they work that in. So the wash color, the flood color is the most common color in the scene typically. It's your canvas color, essentially, and then the tiles are drawn on top of it. So in this case, this doesn't work because this is too many colors all combined together. The wash color is that color for the entire screen. It's not just regions of the screen, to make it clear. I don't know, it would have to be this, or I'd have to... Yeah, it would have to be that, or I'd have to make it the yellow. But that kind of washes out the candle. And I don't know, it doesn't... At best you would want to use this color, but even that doesn't look quite right. It has to be kind of bright, you know? Now you can absolutely... shoot. I'm pressing the wrong thing here. You can absolutely, like... do it in layers. That's crappy, I don't like that. Well, I guess it gets the point across. You can do it like this. That might be alright. That might be alright. And then if you really wanted to get fancy, you could oh my god, what is it? Dither. You could dither it. This actually be pretty hard to dither. Especially if you're mirroring tiles here, because then it'll end up like this. Or it would end up like this. I guess I would rather it be like this. But you get the idea. And then either one of two things you could... Well, I would still do both of these. You could shift these tiles back and forth. Oh, how come it's not working? Oh, it's the wrong layer. You could shift these tiles back and forth. But you could also... You could also grow and expand this circle a little. So you could say one frame... Oh. You could say one frame was smaller, and do I have the right color? What's going on? Why am I not? Oh, here. You could say one frame is smaller, right? And then you could do this with it. That would look cool. then what you would probably want to also do is to go to this layer. Oh, I did the wrong one again. You would go, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. You go to this layer, and oh, I guess that's what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, here. And then you would like bring it in. You know what I mean? And then you've got this kind of effect on the inside. That's how I would animate it, probably. If you look carefully, only the inner tiles don't have to be touched at all. Because this, if it gets darkened 1 pixel in, will never reach the inside of this tile. It will only be these outer tiles that are changing. And you really only have 4 of them, because these 4 corners rotate to the 4 corners, and these 2 in the middle rotate to make all the ones in here. Well, except the bottom one. This one would have to be unique, because it has the base of the candle there. I mean, that's if you wanted to get into the lighting. Otherwise, you would say, don't have the lighting, and it's just a background decoration. In that case, too, so let's see, this is Aura 1. You could have... You could even have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not really sure here. I guess it's outward more. No, not quite. I guess it would be... Yeah, I guess this would be pretty accurate. No, it's not quite though, is it? There. You could do it like this with just an aura. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then fill it in like on the inside. Make it like a little thick thing here. You could do that. It gives the illusion of light without having to fill everything in. Might actually work. Nah, it looks more like a wreath if it's dark. But you might want to flicker something like this. I think leaving it just like that is not good. You'd have to flicker it. So, in fact, let's do that. So, 16. So you could do that. So if you're watching at 60 frames per second, it should look alright. It's actually kind of laggy, so it's not flickering quite right. But you get the idea. Let's see. It's actually like 16.4 milliseconds, so maybe 17 would be a better measure here. So you could do something like that. Just a little ring of light. Obviously it's not the best drawn circle in the universe, but you get the idea. Either way, I'm not going to keep that frame. But that's some stuff you could do. I'm not sure if I like how detailed that is with the dark there, but I don't know. The thing is like this isn't really outlined on top. So should this be so outline looking? It's hard to say. Why have it extend so low? Have what extend so low? The ring? Oh, it's more for simplicity. So that you can get the tile replication on the tops and the corners. If that's what you mean. That way the inside doesn't ever actually have to change. In this particular instance, it does because it's it actually invaded here, but you don't have to have it. You don't have to have it like that. You could probably get away with that, and it probably would still look all right. See, it would look okay like that, even though it's a little blockier. So you would do that, and then you would flicker the... what is it? Where is it? Here. And then you would flicker these tiles back and forth like that. If you did that. Actually, yeah, let me do another animation of that. Because I didn't actually flicker. Well, you know what? Hold on. Hold on. New frame. New frame. I'm gonna have to do this in 2s. So then these two, that's gonna flip horizontal. Okay, is that right? Yeah. So you would have this, and these are just be 17 each. Yeah. So you would have something like this. You know, something that looks like this. I would slow the candle flicker down, but the light aura would have to be very quick. It'd be something like that. And this would just be a decoration. It wouldn't be interactable. It would just be something to have in the background. I guess there's two ways you could look at this. Either you don't have the aura at all, and it just flickers the candle, which is fine because the room is lit, right? But if you had a dark room, I would absolutely enforce having some sort of aura around it. So if you had like nothing here, if this was black, I don't know if I can. Let's link these together. So if this was black, I would absolutely enforce some sort of aura around it. A solid one even, like not just like that, but this aura. And then you could delete these two out of here and do it like this. Oh, whoa, well that's a little stroby. That's a little stroby. Maybe not quite that. You get the idea though. Hey, with the proper flicker, it might be okay. But, yeah, you get the idea. You don't want to get too crazy with it. But here, absolutely, you want, if it's dark, you want a ring around it. Let's see, is that... Oh, it's Aura 1 that has it. So, let's link these... And get rid of that. Alternate with the ring. Yeah, you could do that. You could do that too. Or another thing you could do. Hold on, let's unlink those and link these together. Or actually no. Let's unlink all that. Oh wait, nope. Nope. Okay, I want to get rid of that pixel first, then unlink these. What you could do here, you could do this, right? You could do that. That looks actually pretty cool. Only if it's dark. You want to do that. Now you could extend this to... Oh no, there's a smiley face? Oh yeah, it kind of is a smiley face. You could extend this to even greater into the background where the candle is there and there's actual detail being drawn in the darkness. So, like the example here, like this could actually turn into a normal colored piece of wood board. Only around where the only around where the light is. And it doesn't even have to flicker at that point. It could just be lit around where the candle is. You'd have to lay out the design to accompany that. Or accommodate, rather. But it's some way to do it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to save this as... Oh. Dark test. And then we'll backtrack. We'll go here and we'll turn this one on instead. We'll get rid of this. Delete and... Nope, not export. We'll save this as the normal one. And so we have the example for both. Try a darker wash. Well, it's a little hard because of the... Here. I could do this maybe. Well, it's not... It's not as pulled off of it as I'd like. That works a little, but it's a little saturated. It kind of works though. So then you've got that. I didn't make this flicker, but pretend it does. I mean, you can't go any darker without going to black. And you could hue shift it. You could do that and then maybe this. No, that doesn't look quite right. This color got nuked for some reason, but that could have been an alright one. Oh no, that don't look right at all. I know it's tough. That wouldn't be terrible, but I don't like the fact that it's so different. You could pick. Nah, that's not quite right. You have to pick something somewhat adjacent. Well, it's a little saturated. Nah, that doesn't work. I don't know. It's tough because you only have so many colors, you know? Maybe. That sort of works because they're somewhat complementary, but it's a little weird too. Yeah, you gotta be real careful with colors. The NES was high contrast for a reason. We'll put it that way. But again, this is supposed to be a lit room too, so you do want to have a contrast between the lit and the dark rooms, where the dark would be a bit more negative space. Like it would really just be black and you draw in the details. Yeah, in this case, if it was a dark room, you would potentially have the walls showing detail and then it goes to black. Let me see if I can replicate that really quick. This might be a little difficult to do because I'm gonna have to grab these with some precision here. So you would use a lighter green here on the black. Yeah. It might not be the best color, but it should get the point across. I guess that's a cross. I say a crossed. That's probably the horrible way to do that. Next. Hooked on phonics worked for me. Yeah, it would be that. And, well, theoretically, I guess you would have this up here. It would be also there. It would be, I don't know, I guess it's pretty bright, but you get the idea. Probably what you would want to do here then is you would want to make that black and then make this like dark. You could do that to kind of suck in. Well, it doesn't work for these, but you can do that to kind of suck the background into the walls into the background. In this case, I don't think it's too effective. You get kind of the idea. You'd have to draw it different, I think. But you get the idea. Where it sucks it into darkness. But, I don't know. Thoughts on the first background session? I hate backgrounds. I do. I hate backgrounds. They're terrible. You do them. I don't want to. I learned a few things. But just kind of recalling things from memory, but putting it into practice and kind of be like, oh yeah, that works, and this works, and that works, and that makes sense. What? Yeah, it's a little tough. I appreciate that. Thank you. It's not terrible. I don't dislike the results. It's just annoying. I don't like drawing objects. I like drawing people. Yeah, I think it looks alright though. Part of the convention here is that shadows only go down. So this is all just black space. But shadows consume next block down only from the top. But some little details like that would probably make it a little easier to construct these kinds of things. But as far as like walls, I don't know. You just don't like the 4-beam? It just gives it a different texture. You could make it green. You can make it green. How about that? If we did that, shit. Wrong one. Oh. Well, I guess we would. Hold on. We're gonna have to marquee it and then get the non-contiguous. Contiguous, yeah. The non-contiguous one. You could do that. That would further separate it. Use the eraser tool? On what? What do I use the eraser tool for? There, I mean, if you don't like the coloring there, you could do that. Right-click eraser should be a color changer? Really? Well, either way, it worked. You could introduce a third palette for those as well. We've only used really 2 palettes. I mean, this one kind of ended up being a third, but you know what I mean. Trying to think what would look good there. You'd have to use a really dull color. Anyway, you get the idea. So, I think I'll leave it there for now. We've been here a while, and today's been a rough day. So I think I want to go rest now. But I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks all right. Looks pretty neat. I would definitely throw this in the prototype bin. I wouldn't necessarily say we're going to use these graphics, but they're a handy start, I think. More than anything, this felt more like a lighting test, a lighting and perspective test, but it doesn't feel like it's the mansion. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'll need the third palette eventually. Yeah. It doesn't feel like it's all prototype. It doesn't feel like it's the mansion. It's a retro game. Do you think Ricky looks like he belongs on this background? I guess that's another thing to think about. Part of me thinks he kind of pops out a little bit much, but I kind of like the way the background looks too with him. I don't know. Where like Ricky is very explicitly outlined, but the background's not. I don't know. They're from outside. They're out of their element, right? Ricky's jumping around. Zoom, zoom, zang, biggity, boom. And he's jumping. And oh yeah, I guess you couldn't actually even get up here because there's no. Hold on. Let me fix that. That doesn't make any sense. There. Now it makes sense. Now Ricky can. Oh no, the background moved. Not Ricky. Now Ricky can jump up there and he can get up. How about that? There you go. Actually, that's not quite right. This should be gone. Oh. Background layer. There. Now it's tiled correctly. Yeah, invisibility. Yeah, they definitely don't get sucked into the background thanks to that outline. Even though, no, they're not the same green. But even if it was the same green, it wouldn't matter. Because he's outlined. So what green is he? If I were to use that for the flood color. Yeah, see, he still sticks out. It's fine. His outline's a little broken, so his hair gets lost, but it doesn't matter. That's not his most standout qualities. And he has the outline to keep him from really blending into that green. That actually looks pretty good. Yeah, I think it looks alright. I think so. It looks alright. So, okay. Yeah, we'll end it there. So, let's see. It is Thursday. It's the 28th. Oh my god, January is almost over. Oh god, send me away. Take me out. It's too much time. But yeah, so it's Thursday. Sunday we're gonna play something. Actually, I didn't think about it yet. It's been an awful week, as I've already described. And then Monday, more Pocket Fighter EX stuff, and 2020 part 13 out of 24. Yeah, you too, Uggs. Have a good one. So we are patron funded, and I've got patrons to read out. We got super special thanks to Alex Smith, Miguel A. Tabasco. And then, also thanks to Very Next, Mega Keo, Awakened Emperor, Angel, Rui, Luis, Uncle Roy, Mike Cruz, Taryn Williams, Corporal Chungus, Bryce Nagalingam, AJ Miles Griffin, Ben K, D-Money107, and LG Walker. Thank you guys super very much. It means a lot, especially right now with everything going on. So, if you want to support the show or support my personal efforts in game dev, check out that Patreon link. It's patreon.com/GameDevScrubs. And if you want to support the show, that's the place to do it. You can get some rewards. You can get some prototype builds. You know, we got a weekly and a monthly prototype build club, so to speak, and all that stuff. So check that out. See if anything there sparks your interest. And then we'll be back on Sunday and then Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thanks everybody for hanging out, and I'll see you guys later. Scrub out.